Welcome everybody to another edition of Two Guys and a Mic. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. RP Ron Pierce.
And I'm your other host, Big Sean. I hope everyone is doing well this evening.
I think I'm doing pretty good. If anybody cares, I'm doing okay.
No, they
Actually, huh?
So they probably don't.
They probably don't.
Probably don't.
They probably don't. But you know what? It's been cold out here recently, but I've actually been back out trying to get myself in some level of shape. I got to get this quarantine weight off, dog. I had actually gotten up to right up under 200 pounds, which is a lot for me. I actually was over 200 at one point. Then I kind of got myself back down, and then I went right back to right at 200. So right now I'm like at 190. So I've been really like working to keep myself active, even in the midst of this cold stuff. So I actually feel pretty good right now. That don't mean nothing. I could, you might see me on Sunday and I'd be like, man, I'm sick and I hate everybody. So, but today I feel good. And again, everybody in my house is good. So that always makes me feel that much better.
Right.
So today is our Super Bowl preview. As you can tell by my backdrop, I got the Super Bowl logo back there.
Which one is this? 55?
55. Which is weird because I feel like this is the same logo they had last year at 54.
Man, that's like the same logo they have every year.
You know, because here's the thing, and anybody who knows anything about Roman numerals, I don't think they teach Roman numerals like they used to when we were in school. But we all know that if you have the I in front of the V, that's a 4. That's not 5. The L is 50. So that's 50, and literally that says 4. Last year they had the exact same thing. This year, the L and the V, or the L and the V, should be 55, but they still got the trophy in the middle of it.
Right.
But I guess if they put the trophy on the end back here, that would be 56. So I don't know. And I guess the trophy needs to be a part of it. So I'm guessing that's why they did it that way. But whatever. Thankfully, I know English letters and numbers. So it's Super Bowl 55. And we'll be watching on Sunday. I think it starts, what is it, 6:25 or something like that?
Yeah, always 6:30. You know, and that's probably, all the pop 6:30. So I'm thinking kickoff probably around 6:30, 6:35.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it should be earlier in the day. I think it should be like in the afternoon.
I think so too, bro.
Because I guess
imagine,
they got to take the West Coast
into
account.
Man, listen, I've been on the West Coast. When I used to work out on the West Coast, I've been out there for football games and stuff like that. It's Sunday. It's not a Tuesday.
Right.
It'd be different if it was a Thursday game. Like the national championship game is at 8:00 on the East Coast, which is 5:00 out there. So doing it at 6, it's still 3:00 out there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to do it for them, put it at 5:00, if that's what you're doing it for. However, it's a Sunday. People get out of church at 1:00. So you could do it at 4 or 5. Like even moving it up an hour could change how it all goes down, because this game is on, like when the game is over with, it started at 6:30. When the game is over with, it's like 11:30, quarter to 12.
Exactly.
And
that was a nice thing about the couple of times I went out to Vegas for the Super Bowl. The game is over. It's still 6:00, so we have plenty of time to still do whatever.
Tell me about it. That used to be the craziest thing. Yeah, I agree. That used to be the craziest thing. Like, watching football, and you're done watching football on the Sunday. Like the Sunday night game goes off at about 11 something here. I'm out in Vegas. It's 7:30, 8:00. But I already been drinking for 4 hours.
Right.
I really don't know what to do next. I think I'm just gonna go pass out somewhere, because I had to watch the early games, the Browns or whoever else, and then you watch more games if you're watching them at the sports book or whatever, you're watching all those games, and then the Sunday night game comes on, and there's times when I'm just sitting around smoking a cigar in the cigar bar just because the game is on. But once that's over with, listen, I'm through. And yeah, and I'm in a different spot than most people because I'm always in Vegas, or I was always in Vegas. So where other people feel like, oh man, even though I'm tanked, I got to still go out. I still got to go do this, go do that. I just be like, man, I'm about to go to sleep because I'm gonna be here tomorrow. I'm gonna be here next week, and I'm gonna be here the week after.
Right.
I don't have to chase that. I don't have to chase that tourist tail that becomes being in Vegas. Right. You're like, man, I got to keep going. I got to. Man, I'll see y'all next week or whatever. But anyway, again, we do what we do best. Get off on tangents. So we got the Chiefs and the Bucks going on Sunday. Speaking of Vegas, the spread is the Chiefs at -3. I thought that was.
It didn't move. Is it still 3 or is it 3.5 now?
It was 3 when I last looked, and now I looked probably around about 5 o'clock when I was doing putting my notes and stuff together. So,
but it's kind of strange that it's because I think it opened up at 3. And
thank you.
Been the same all the way through.
I thought it was me, so thank you for kind of making me feel like, okay, it ain't just you. I thought 3 was a flat. That's a flat number, bro. I would have expected a 3.5, maybe even a 4. Like stretch it out a little bit. I would have thought.
Right. Well, they must be getting money on even sides how they want it. Money coming in on both sides.
Probably. The again, speaking of sports books in Vegas, like I said, -3 for the Chiefs, and the over under is 56, which is very respectable. That's very respectable. Those are respectable numbers right there. That is as even as you can probably call it, right?
Right.
So it made me go back and look because I know that they played this season, and it made me go back and look at the highlights of that game to try to figure out why they felt like that's what's going to happen, or why they think that that's what's going to happen. In terms of everything being so close, proximity wise, I tend to think after watching that game, I tend to think they feel that Tampa Bay is a better team than when they met because they played in week 12. And to be honest with you, KC looked like the better team when I looked at the highlights and stuff. KC looked like the better team. Like KC was driving the ball all the way down. It was a couple, maybe 2 or 3 times they had gotten into the red zone and came out with like 2 field goals, and then they had a turnover. Mahomes fumbled like on the 5, and Tampa Bay recovered. But Brady threw like 3 picks. The game ended 27-24. But there was a point in the game. There was a point in the game where Kansas City was up 17-0 in the first half. So,
for some reason, I'm not remembering this game. For some reason, I know I watched it. I don't remember it.
I'll be honest. I didn't remember it either, and it was in Tampa, by the way.
Okay.
So, I think the Chiefs have an understanding of what to do and how to play down there. It's a fair weather city. It generally is a fair weather city, even when it's cold there. It ain't Cleveland cold, that's for sure.
Oh no, we're near that.
You know what I mean? It's damn sure not Cleveland cold, and I don't even know that it's Kansas City cold because it can be pretty cold in Kansas City too. Right. But that's a fair weather place. And when all things are even, if you look at these teams, I would expect if I'm just looking at this on paper, I would expect for the Chiefs to win. But the way that the Bucks are playing recently, I think, and it's Tom Brady, so it's hard to vote against Brady or go against Brady. And I think that's what they see.
Technically, I guess it's not a home field advantage because the crowd is partisan. I guess they're having 22,000, and I guess 7,500 of those will be, nurses and doctors and stuff that they selected to go to the game. But one thing I'm not sure if anybody's talking about, and it's so different because you don't have the media presence, or you don't have media day, media hype build up,
Right.
and all of that,
Right.
which I'm actually kind of grateful for this year. I get tired of all of that, them trying to create different scenarios and trying to do the pregame hype and this, that, the third, because all you would have heard all these 2 weeks, Mahomes versus Brady, Mahomes versus Brady, Mahomes, they would have beat that into the ground. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
thankful that we don't have that media onslaught
The
like we
the
would.
whole who's the GOAT, who's the GOAT, who's the new GOAT, is
Yeah,
Mahomes on this level?
right,
Yeah, they gotta make something of it. Yeah, I got you.
right. But the one thing that they haven't, been able to talk about is, although Tampa technically doesn't have a home field advantage, I think they do in a sense because they just been at home chilling. They get to stay
Yeah,
in their
I mean,
own homes.
yeah,
They're not in a
I
hotel.
absolutely agree.
Well, I take that back. They may be in the bubble because of COVID and what's going on. They may. I wonder if they put them in some type of like bubble situation for the 2 weeks. That's one thing they haven't. They
Well,
haven't said.
they haven't specified
They
that
haven't
was something
specified that.
that needed to occur. But I agree with you. Imagine being in a situation where you can sleep in your own bed, even if it's just for a week. So you got 2 weeks between the two games. Imagine that for the first week, you're in your bed. That's totally different. And the travel time, even if you got to stay in a hotel, the travel time is not the same. You ain't on an airplane. You ready. Like I could just get to the spot.
Right, because I don't
Somebody
think
tell me to
KC
drive.
is going. I don't think KC is arriving until Friday.
It's almost
And
like it's a road game
and
for them.
normally they would have been there like Monday.
Well, they don't
You know,
have the media requirements that they had in the past for the other Super Bowls.
right?
So we don't have to be there, early. Because you're right. What's today? Today's Wednesday. Oh hell yeah, they would have been there like maybe Sunday night or Monday morning
Mm-hmm.
at this point. Because I think Tuesday would have been the media day, right? And then
Something like that, yeah.
et cetera, as everything is played out.
And for whatever reason, they ask the dumbest questions during Super Bowl week. You think they're dumb, during the season, but during Super Bowl week, they just ask. Because I mean, when you have every day you got to ask these questions, they don't have anything to ask. And they just come up with just some of the ridiculous stuff, trying to be
They come
funny.
up with the randomest, most ridiculous questions. But I think that at this point, I think the players expect that anymore. Like when I used to see back in the day when David Letterman used to send his little reporter to every Super Bowl, and they would get to ask those questions. And he does the same thing for the finals. Like this, he has a little Hispanic guy, and they just send him in, and he asks all of the goofiest questions. But they have a lot of people there that just ask the goofiest questions ever on purpose. Like they're purposefully goofy questions, and it gets a kind of a laugh out of the players or whatever like that. And it
Right.
seems like it's like this big fun thing, but they have to make a big deal out of this game in order for it to be one of the highest rated games every single year. Even on those low years, when you put those numbers against anything that was a highly rated a TV show, the numbers are always high.
Yeah, Super Bowl Sunday is a holiday now.
Yeah.
It's a unofficial official holiday. Like everyone. Well, you know what? Not if we and then we really look at the numbers. Like only like half the country actually watches the game, which I always find like astounding because you just think everyone is like glued to the TV. It's like, okay, what else would you be
Well,
watching besides the doggone Super Bowl? But it's a lot of people that actually don't. But even with that being said, if you got half of a whole country, population United States is what 390 million or something like that. You got
almost
half
400.
the country watching one game. That's still pretty big. Plus, the worldwide audience, the people that don't normally watch American football, that tune into the game. So it's always a giant spectacle.
And consider this, bro. and I say this about ratings all the time. Consider this. Consider the people that go to a sports bar. Well, the ratings are only coming off of the numbers
That's
of
just
streams
right.
or whatever TVs are
Right.
locked
That's
into
that's
the
that's a
thing
good
that
point.
actually have a Nielsen rating. We go to a Super Bowl party pretty much every year. So there's like 30 people at this spot, right? So that's 30 TVs that aren't turned on per se,
Right. That's a very, very good point.
but we're all watching the game. So
Right.
if you
Right.
say half of America's watching, I'd probably say 3/4 of America are watching.
Yeah, that's I get what you're saying. Now, are you pro Super Bowl party or anti Super Bowl party?
This year, I don't know. I'm on the fence. It just depends on how the Super Bowl party that we have traditionally gone to is set up.
I
It's
hate
not.
it.
I don't mind them, and here's my
I
thing. Here's why I don't mind them. I don't mind them because I like to eat personally, and there's always good food where I go to my Super Bowl party at. It's always good food. Except for the year that my wife tried to kill me. She gave me some jambalaya that has shrimp in it, and I'm allergic to shrimp.
Are you allergic? Oh wow.
I said she tried to take me out, y'all. Did y'all see this?
On the slide too.
Oh yeah. Come on, bro. She know what it is. And then she gonna look. Then she gonna say, "Oh, you didn't eat none of this, did you?" She tried to take
Gave
me
me a
out.
whole bowl full.
That's okay. I said, "No, we cool, babe. Yeah, I finished all of that. I'm making my own plates from here on out. I don't need you to make my plate at all. I don't know what secret insurance policy you might have on
Right.
me, so I'm gonna go ahead and make my own plates. But um, I enjoy them in a certain pocket of enjoyment. And most Super Bowls, I don't care because my team ain't in it.
Right. But see,
So
you're a talker. You are more of a social butterfly than me. So you probably enjoy the banner, the going back and forth, talking and all of that. And that I don't mind,
oh yeah,
to a certain extent. But you know me, I'm a football nerd, a football purist. Sometimes I just want to watch the game. Like I end up going to Super Bowl parties where you got half the people there that haven't watched a football game literally the entire year, and they're just there for the spectacle of everything, asking
yeah,
questions, talking, not knowing what's going on, and the maniacal side of me comes out because I'm like,
yeah. You're
I
irritated.
don't feel like explain. I'm irritated. I don't feel like explaining what a holding call is. Blah blah blah. You have no idea what you're talking. They just be talking random stuff about the game, and there's so much talking going on back and forth that I can't really intently
But that's
absorb what's going on during the game. You
and,
know.
and I agree. Now, in general, I am with you on 99.9% of what you just said. Just the other day when the Browns were playing the Chiefs, my daughter, I didn't want my daughter to have no damn company, but she had been asking for 2 or 3 weeks for this little girl to come over. And I said, okay, she needs to bring, uh, same stuff I have to. She needs to bring her mask, and y'all can go play and do whatever. Just leave me alone because the Browns are playing the Chiefs. I don't need nobody in my way. Now I'm thinking to myself, I might need to chill out because I got this other person in my house, and I don't want her to be frightened because
Right.
I don't know what she sees at her crib. Well, next thing I know, they're going up and down. My wife had them doing chores and stuff. They all over the living room. I'm like, then I just got to the point where I was just so irritated. I was like, I'm going to watch the game in the basement. And she's like, well, why are you going? I just can't. Y'all making too much noise. Like I can't focus.
Right.
Like I want to focus. I can't focus. I need to hear
And
what
on
they're
top of that,
saying. I need to.
right. And on top of that, you got people actually picking sides and rooting for teams. I was like, the Browns ain't in this. What are we celebrating? Why y'all rooting for these? I don't care
Well,
who wins.
now,
The only time I care
I will.
if Pittsburgh and Baltimore is in the thing, then I'll root for whoever's
Oh, you're rooting against.
playing against them. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're rooting against. Well, I'll say this, because where I go, and this is the credit that I give where I go, and it's one of the reasons why I go there. These guys are actually almost 100% Browns fans. First of all, they do tailgates. You know, when the Browns were, we wasn't on punishment back in the day. They do tailgates.
Right.
You know, we've traveled. Matter of fact, when we went to Cincinnati, remember when I left because I said my people is here? That was that was them. They were there. So diehard Browns fans and stuff like that. So they do know football. And there's multiple TVs. There's not just one TV. There's like 4 TVs in their house. So I can pick which group of people I want to go sit with. If I don't want to sit with the people who just gonna be smoking and running their mouth and doing all, I can go somewhere else and sit with people who actually want to watch the game. Because I am a football guy and I want to watch the game. I want to see what happened. And this was before I even had a show. I want to see what happened. Because it's the Super Bowl. I've only missed one Super Bowl in my life. That was the year that the Steelers played the Cowboys, and I hated both of them, so I didn't want to watch it.
Back in sure. 95 or 96.
Yeah. It was awful. It was awful. I couldn't. That was the only other time that I wanted the stadium. That's probably the only time in a Super Bowl that I wanted the stadium to implode. But
and that, you know what, and that's crazy. That's how probably, after all this time, you would think that we would have missed multiple Super Bowls because of life, something would have happened where you missed. Because I don't think I've missed one at all that I can think of. I don't think I've ever missed a Super Bowl in my lifetime.
I purposely missed that one, and I agree. I remember as a kid coming to your house, spending the weekend over there because the Super Bowl was that weekend. Your sister was a little baby. Y'all were in Cleveland Heights at the time, and that was the year. That was Washington versus the Broncos, and we were over your house, and you and I was dancing through your house, through your basement because Denver. Well, we was mad at first because Denver scored first, so we was mad. We was like,
I remember
these
that.
sons of guns about to bring us, and then. You know, Doug Williams goes on this tirade.
Right.
He went on a tirade.
That was him and Timmy Smith, right? Timmy Smith, the running back. You never heard his name again after that Super Bowl either.
You might not have heard it before.
Right.
But they played a great game and won that game. And I went home. It was snowing outside. I caught the bus because I got off on Green Road. And I walked right back out on the Green Road, caught that 34, went home after the game was over. Because I had school the next day. My mom was like, you better make sure you get home. I was like, I ain't got no choice. I gotta go. You know, your mom was like, you sure? You sure? It's kind of late. I said, nah, I gotta go.
I'm shocked we didn't give you a ride home.
Miss Debbie. Well, it was snowing bad, and I think Robert still had the yellow demon. So I was like, that or we had that army. Right. Yeah, I used to call it demon, man. Look, I said, man, that thing ain't gonna make it up the hill, man.
Man, that car lasted a long time. That was I think it was a 65 Galaxy, I think. And he used to call it the Rolls, like the Rolls Royce. And that car lasted a long time. Our car rolled smooth as hell too. For as old and junky as it was. It
gave gas for no reason. It would just get, as soon as you turn it on, it's ready to go already. Just gas going into the intake. But so let's get back to the game a little bit. The Chiefs, I looked up the injuries. The Chiefs actually are almost at full strength.
Well, you know what? They're missing their left and right tackle, though.
They are missing their tackles, but you know these guys were not going to play. I don't think they played in the championship game, right? Well, one got hurt
Somebody
in the
got
championship.
hurt. I think somebody got hurt during the championship game. I want
One
to
got
say
hurt.
it
I
was the
think
right
their
guy.
left tackle got hurt in the championship game. They hadn't had their right tackle for a few weeks, so I think they're, a little bit. They're kind of like us, how we were at a certain point where we didn't have all of our best guys
Right.
on that offensive line. But I think the type of offense that they run, because they run their offense so quick, I don't know how much that's going to matter per se. And
right.
I think also when I looked at who's missing or who didn't practice today, because they didn't really, let out no official injury report because it's only Wednesday. They don't let those out until Friday afternoon-ish. But JPP didn't practice today. He has a knee issue. So if they don't have somebody as disruptive as JPP to worry about,
Right.
I'm not sure that the offensive lineman not being there will be.
And I think KC had a couple of guys on the COVID list due to close contact. It was a receiver and maybe a tight end, like a backup tight end or something like that. I don't think it was anybody of consequence.
Nobody that matters.
On that.
Nobody that matters. And let me rephrase that because excuse me, real quick. I don't want to say that nobody that matters in the sense of people might have COVID, so it don't matter. No, I'm saying it doesn't matter in terms of how they run their offense. It doesn't matter how they run if that guy's on defense. It doesn't matter.
It's equivalent, to you Browns fan, it's equivalent to if Andrew Sandejo and number 34 in the secondary had, they really wouldn't make much of a difference if they were playing or not playing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree. Because Andrew Sandejo stinks. By the
Robert
way,
Jackson, he called him number 34. Robert Jackson. That's who I was speaking about.
Yeah.
But I think on the Tampa side, I think Antonio Brown is questionable. I actually hope he plays. He did or didn't?
He was in limited practice today, but he did practice.
Okay.
And they said he's set up. He's in a spot to where he's probably going to play. They didn't say yay or nay, but they just said the way it looks. He did practice. He was limited.
Okay.
But he's probably going to. He was limited, but I did my due diligence on that one.
Okay, and then and Antoine Winfield Jr. I think was hurt. I think he was questionable. Levante David was questionable, but I think those guys will end up playing.
Levante David was. Let me be sure before I say this. Levante David was limited today, so he did practice. Antoine Winfield was limited today, but he did practice. So pretty much everyone is practice. I mean, it's a Super Bowl. So if guys are out today, or during this week, if guys are out, there's two reasons. They're either trying to save it for the Super Bowl, for the actual game, or they are really hurt.
Yeah, at this point in the season, it's no if a guy is not 100%, there's no reason to run him out there in practice and risk further injury. That's just not smart. So
so that's what I say. Either that
dude
that guy is either like, just keep me out of practice and then let me get into the game, because maybe having a week's or 2 weeks worth of rest is worth it, or that dude is really, really hurt. We see guys during the regular season who do the exact same thing. They don't practice during the entire week. They kind of sit out because they're like, man, I could probably practice, but why practice? And I'll just show up for Friday on practice, and they'll be able to say, oh, okay, he did practice some on Friday, so we can still game plan him in, type of thing. So it's Wednesday.
Let's go
I'm
ahead
not going to say. I'm just saying it's Friday. JPP ain't practicing. It's Wednesday. JPP ain't practicing. It's not Friday yet. we'll wait till Friday before we find out if JPP is going to practice. So
All right. Well, let's go ahead
on
and
the injury front,
let's break everything down kind of by position and kind of think, give your opinion on who has the advantage. So quarterback.
all right.
Who has the advantage at quarterback?
I would say the advantage on quarterback is Tom Brady. Not
I'm
because
going to say Patrick Mahomes.
I'm saying Tom only. I'm only saying Tom because it's hard for me to say that Tom Brady ain't the guy. So when you're talking about who knows how to win, when you're talking about pressure situations, when you're talking about championship pressure situations, while Mahomes has won and while Mahomes has dealt with that championship, he's lost too. Not in the Super Bowl, but he's lost on his way to a Super Bowl before.
Right.
This kid is special. This kid is special. And I like Mahomes. But my pick has nothing to do with Mahomes. My pick has more to do with who Tom Brady is. Like if Michael Jordan makes it to the finals, I don't know what your team look like. I'm probably gonna go with Mike. And that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I'm gonna get advantage to Mahomes. And this is just basically just purely off ability at this point in time in their careers. One thing that people swept under the rug last week was that Tom Brady did throw 3 pretty bad interceptions against Green Bay. And just Green Bay just weren't able to capitalize on it for whatever reason. They couldn't, move the ball and score like in the second half. So I'm gonna give that advantage to KC. Offensive lines, I'm gonna say the offensive lines right now are kind of like a wash. Neither one of them are, they're both pretty good offensive lines. What do you think about that?
No, I can buy that. I think the O-lines are, like you say, I don't know that there's anyone, especially with the injuries that Kansas City has had on their offensive line. So now you're dealing with second and potentially third string guys starting in the Super Bowl, not your frontline guys. Right. Tampa's offensive line has gotten better, but I don't know that they were great to begin with. So I'll go with that. I'll go with a wash.
Right. Running backs. I'm gonna give that edge to Tampa. You got Fournette, you got Ronald Jones. I forgot they got LaShawn McCoy. He actually showed up during a media interview. I'm like, dude, like, where have you been like all season? But in Kansas City, for whatever reason, they really don't utilize their running backs. I think Le'Veon Bell is hurt. He may or may not play. Edwards-Helaire should play, and then you got Damian Williams. But I think I'm going to give the overall running attack advantage to the Buccaneers.
Well, I'm going to give it to the Bucs because they actually use theirs a little bit more.
Right.
I think the talent, though, is actually on, aside from Fournette, I think the talent is on the Kansas City Chiefs side. I really like Edwards-Helaire. I think his ability is talent-wise. I think he has way more ability than what they use him for. You can kind of see it when he gets the ball, and damn sure you can see it when he gets the ball in space. I mean, the dude is tough to take down. But we're talking about the impact that they might have on the game. So I will give Tampa that. And another note for Tampa, Le'Veon did practice today, limited practice. So he's not Tampa, for Kansas City. He did practice today, limited, but he did practice. So there's a good chance that he'll probably play at least some. But again, they don't run that much. They run a lot more. Like Andy Reid is super West Coast offense guy.
Right.
So a lot of their runs are short passes and getting guys into quick space and stuff like that. But to respond specifically, I'm going to give that to Tampa because they use their guys a little bit more.
All right. Now on to the receiving core. I know a lot of people are going to give the edge to KC. I do too, but not by much. The Buccaneers receiving core Actually it's pretty formidable. You know, with Mike Evans,
Mhm.
Chris Godwin,
Mhm.
Antonio Brown if he plays, and Scotty Miller, and you got Gronk. That they don't use him as much, but he's always a threat. He seems to make at least one or two big plays every game. You got Cameron Brate. So I think overall their receiving core is almost on par with Case. See, I just think maybe Case, he may have a little bit more overall speed, but don't discount Tampa Bay's receiving core at all. But I give a very, very, very slight edge to Kansas City.
I'm not gonna give a slight edge to them. I'm just gonna get an edge to them, and I think the biggest difference is now I know AB on the Steelers. If it was like a Steelers type situation, and you got AB versus Tariq, now we're
Mm-hmm.
talking. But the AB that we have right now in the offense that he's in right now, that dude ain't on Tariq's level at all. Tariq Hill is a special talent. Um, he's incredible. His ability to catch, his ability to move. I've never seen a dude move so much, catch a ball, move so much, make people miss, and only get 4 yards like this dude.
Right.
I mean, him by himself. He's incredible. Um, I liken what we need to do, switching gears a little bit with OBJ and Jarvis to what they do with him. I think that would work because I keep saying, get these guys in space. You get them in space, these guys are incredible. And I see that in Tyreek. Tyreek is incredible in space. And that
Mm-hmm.
just freaks everybody out because you don't have nothing. It's just you and me. It's just me and you. That's it. And Tyreek will tell you, oh, I'm winning that because it's me versus you.
Right.
I'm winning that. And he generally does. He generally wins those. So the talent that Tyreek Hill is by himself, then you got Hardman, Travis Kelce. In the championship game, both these dudes, Kelce and Tyreek had almost, I think both of them damn near had 10 catches if they didn't, for over
Something like
100
that.
yards.
Right.
The first time that has ever happened, ever, in the NFL history. So Travis Kelce is a special type of guy. I like Grunt. Travis Kelce is a young Grunt rather, and probably a faster Grunt, maybe a more mobile Grunt. Gronk is just a load of a dude who can catch his ass off, and he's an incredible tight end. So I ain't taking nothing from him. But
Right.
the Gronk that we have right now, you probably only got about 5 catches that you're really going to get out of this dude. Whereas Travis Kelce is going to catch volume wise. So I'm going to give the edge, not a slight edge. I'm giving the edge to Kansas City.
Yeah, and the reason why I said it's because a slight edge because I like Tampa's. I like the size of their receivers.
No,
Like
I
Chris
like
Godwin, I think is very underrated. You know, Mike Evans is going to be a matchup nightmare too because of his height. But I get what you're saying.
what?
I know where you're coming from.
What?
So
No,
um,
listen. And if I give anybody the impression that I don't like Tampa's guys, that's
I
not what
got
I'm
you.
saying.
I
I'm
know what
just
you're saying.
looking at it. I
You're
know you
saying
do. I
KC is
know you do.
special. Yeah.
I'm just, for folks that might listen and be like, man, that dude RP crazy as hell. I'm not saying that Tampa doesn't have. Listen, I'll take Chris Godwin. I keep hearing people talk about trading OBJ and all that stuff. Listen, now if you want to talk about trading him and you're gonna get me Chris Godwin type cats, okay.
Right.
Well, let's listen to that. But if you're just talking about trading OBJ just to be trading OBJ and you don't know who they're gonna get back and all that stuff, no. So I'm
Exactly.
against that kind of stuff. I'm really talking from a Brown standpoint because I
Exactly.
understand the talent. The talent that OBJ has is equivalent to the talent that Tyreek Hill has. Go back, if you don't think you think I'm joking, go back and look at that Dallas game. Those are the types of games that should be happening for Odell Beckham Jr. every week. Those are the types of games that Tyreek Hill has every single
Every
week.
week. Yep. You're absolutely right. Now let's move on to defensive line. So defensive line, I'm giving the edge to Tampa. I think with JPP, Sue, a couple of the guys on that line, I think they're probably a much more disruptive defensive line than the Chiefs have.
That's easy. Yeah, for sure. That's easy. All you got to say to me is JPP. That works. JPP has a complete total of 7.5 fingers.
Right.
And he is an animal with all 7.5 of those fingers. This dude has found a way. Most people, and we see this often. We actually see this often. So while people might think I'm making fun, I'm not. Because we see this often. We see people who, I can't remember which linebacker for Kansas City has a cast on his hand. But there's certain things that
Yeah,
you can't
he
do
has
when you
a
got
whole
that
club. Yeah,
cast
like
on you. You can't wrap up.
right.
Right. It's almost like a club. And you also can't throw this thing at people because you might mess around and break their arm because you got a hard cast. Now you kicked out of the game. So you got to respond to that like a regular linebacker and try to wrap people up, or like a regular defensive end and try to wrap people up. Listen, JPP has, seriously, I'm not joking. He's got 2.5 fingers on one hand. He blew it off in a being goofy in a fireworks accident like
Fireworks. Yeah.
7 years ago. People didn't even think he was going to be able to play ever again. All he's done is not only play again, but be the equivalent of what he was when he was playing at his peak. He was already an incredible talent when he was in New York.
Mm-hmm.
But he was doing goofy stuff towards the end of that, and him blowing his hand off. They ended up releasing him because he had a ridiculous contract. Only ridiculous because he's not playing. And he got picked up by Tampa, a little bit after that. And this dude has put himself back into the JPP that we remember from, the last team in New York that won the Super Bowl. JPP was a rookie.
Right. Yeah, he has been in the league that long. When he was back there with Strahan and Justin Tuck. Those guys.
Justin Tuck. I've called. I have this thing with nicknames. I make up nicknames for people. So JPP, I've been calling him Japupa for the longest, but I stopped calling him Japupa because he hadn't been playing at that level. Guess what I was calling him last week watching the championship game? Japupa is back. Japupa is back. So if that dude is going to play on Sunday, and if Ndamukong Suh is going to play, I know he's going to, he wasn't on the injury list or whatever, but what I'm saying is, if you have those guys lined up, they are going to be super disruptive for whatever, and their instincts and their intelligence, their IQ levels are so high, right. They're going to be a problem on Sunday. I'm giving that edge to them.
I agree 100%. Going to the linebackers, I'm giving the edge to the Buccaneers again. I love the way Levante David plays. Grizzled veteran, been through it all, solid from front to back. Devin White, the rookie, number 45. He's been solid. He's looking like the real deal. Man, that kid looks like he's going to be a superstar. And just looking at some of the numbers, man, he had 9 sacks this year from the linebacker position, which in today's NFL is damn good. JPP had 9.5.
That equates. That's crazy. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
You got Shaq Barrett. I forgot about Shaq Barrett, linebacker. He had 8 sacks. Yeah. William Bolton is a lineman. They just have they got a solid roster on defense. I'm gonna give that edge to Tampa as well.
Well, yeah, that's easy. I think their linebackers are more active. I think their linebackers are more athletic. Levante David is right now probably the best linebacker that's playing football right now, today. He's probably the best linebacker on that team. He's definitely better than any linebacker that the Chiefs have. I
Right.
take him over anybody that's on the field. So that's what I mean when I say the best linebacker playing coming up on Sunday today. He's one of the few that's playing right now. He's not the best in the league, but man, when you talk about having veteran savvy and also understanding where he's supposed to be and what he's supposed to be doing, it's easy for me to say that they're, the Tampa linebackers are the class of the linebackers that'll be playing on Sunday.
Yeah. So now in the secondary overall, I'm gonna give Tampa the edge on that one too. I love the way the Honey Badger plays. They have a rookie, what's his name? Snead. What's his name? Darius Snead. That he's had a hell of a season, but I think with Antoine Winfield Jr., you have Whitehead, a former Brown, that's been playing well. Carlton Davis, a solid corner. I think that the overall edge, in my opinion, goes to just front to back, at all positions in the secondary. I think I'm gonna give Tampa that edge too.
I'm gonna go with Kansas City on this one.
Okay.
And now mine is probably a little more because I watched, that tape today, that film today of their last encounter. Davis got torched a lot in his coverage on Tyreek, but that ain't saying shit because most people get torched trying to cover Tyreek Hill. That's just kind of what Tyreek Hill does to people. But saying that, listen, instinctively, and I like Whitehead. I mentioned Whitehead in the championship. This dude was all over the field. He had 2 forced fumbles. One that got recovered for a touchdown. He was instrumental in what got Tampa Bay the momentum that they needed to keep them going forward into winning the national championship, the National Football Conference championship. So, hats off to him. So it's not saying that these guys stink or suck or nothing. But I've said this, and I've said this, and I've said this. Tyrann Mathieu, his ability and his instincts are second to nobody else's on the planet. Second to nobody else's on the planet. This dude just has a knack for being here. It's almost Palomalu-esque. He just got this knack for being around where the players go. So his cachet alone with what you generally see out of these guys, what you generally see out of their cornerbacks. Their cornerbacks aren't great, but they play well together, and they damn sure play well together with their safeties. I'm gonna get an edge to Kansas City.
Okay. What's the next position? Special teams? That's the last one, right? You know what? And I'm not educated enough about either one of their special teams units to really make an educated opinion about this, but I'm gonna give that just in case you have a pretty good punter.
They got a good punter and a good action.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give the edge just because I have to. I got to pick somebody. I give it to KC and Hardeman when he's not being an idiot. Back there, is a pretty damn good, dangerous kickoff and punt returner. So
you got Butker
Right, right,
Whereas
right, right.
Kansas City's, and I'm about to look up the kicker for Tampa to see who that kicker that plays. So I can give because I'm not that learned on what they do. Oh, Ryan Saka.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, that's a wash to me. And
Yeah, it's almost about a wash.
I know that there's more to special teams than just the kickers, but rarely in playoff, or excuse me, in Super Bowl history has a punter been named the reason that your team lost. So I agree with you. It's probably going to be
Yeah.
A punt returner who doesn't field the ball well, a goofy play on a kickoff, or it's going to be a field goal or two that's missed or made. So I think the kickers wash themselves out. I think they're both really solid kickers. And then it's just probably going to go down to, like you say, Hardman. Hardman, if he gets the ball, God dang it, if he gets the ball in space,
Right.
So, you know, I'm gonna call it a wash because again, I still don't know enough about what occurs, but I'm just gonna call it that washboard.
So let's
Washboard
go ahead with
and
our overall predictions for the game. I'm interested in seeing the chess match that these two guys play. Very different approaches to the game. I think Arians has always been a good offensive mind, just like Andy Reid. I just think that Bruce Arians is probably a little bit more traditional, plays it probably a little bit more closer to the vest, whereas Andy Reid, likes to gamble. He's going to pull out some trick plays. He's going to do some things that are a little bit more unconventional. He's always been that way, as a head coach. But I'm leaning towards Tampa. And that's Tampa to win outright, not even taking the point spread. I think that I'm always a guy that looks at who has the better defense and who has the better run game that can control the clock. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. As a matter of fact, my last few predictions when I've gone with like the defensive team hasn't worked out that way. Because I think it was San Francisco and KC last year, right? And I went with San Francisco, they hadn't got, boneheaded in that game. They actually held KC down for a while. It wasn't until, they were going neck and neck, and they just couldn't capitalize on a few things and let KC off the hook. So,
Shanahan being Shanahan.
Right, exactly. So I'm gonna go with Tampa. I think it's gonna be more like a dink and dunk type of game than people expect. People probably think, it might be an aerial show. Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit more calculated, more of a technical game. You kind of like in boxing, how you kind of two heavyweights, they're kind of just like filling each other out, kind of jab, maybe throw a big uppercut here or there. But I think it'll be a more game that's probably played a little bit more closer to the vest than people think. But I'm going with Tampa in a close one. I'm going to go Tampa 34-31. And Tom Brady gets his 7th Super Bowl ring. And then we got to hear about that for the next 8 months. But nothing to here nor there. But that's my prediction.
Okay. I think I can appreciate that. And the crazy part is that's right where the spread is. So guess what? If you bet on the Bucks versus the spread, you win. Actually, you lose.
No, I would win that. I would win.
No, you would win. You're right. It's not the Bucks. It's the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs -3. So
matter of fact, if I put money on the game, like that, it's probably in my best interest to take the Bucks money line. In that case.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Wait, I forget what
No,
the money. Well,
odds would just be
you got to know what the money line is first, and I think the
no.
money line was
Actually, well, it just be money line. Just means Tampa just gonna win outright without the point. Taking the point
yeah,
spread into it.
yeah,
Actually, the smarter
yeah,
play, if I think Tampa is gonna win outright, is just to take Tampa with the points. That way, either
yeah.
way, I should be
You would
straight.
actually
But
pick this up. I forgot it was them. I mean the Chiefs, and I'm thinking the Chiefs because I think I'm gonna pick the Chiefs. It's really
okay,
tough to pick against, and I said that it's tough to pick against uh, the goats. It's tough to pick against them. It's tough to think that they're going to do something or something to lose a game. Excuse me, something to lose a game or not enough to win a game. Because when have the goats done that? That's one of the
right,
things that makes those guys the goats. We can't remember a game where where Mike didn't do something to inflict his will, to enforce his will on a game that mattered. We've seen him do it multiple times. Now, of course, we've seen him lose too. We've seen him, get bounced out of the playoffs. We excuse it because it was after him being on retirement. But the truth is, you still
right.
lost, homie. You still took that L. So, but to be, as my man Ric Flair would say, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And to be honest, the man right now is Patrick Mahomes. Pat has to figure out a way to stand up to whatever this thing is, the aura, the machismo, the bravado that is Tom freaking Brady. And I don't say that lightly. That's Tom freaking Brady, dog. When we came on the show last week after the championship games, what did I say, man? That dude, he's the GOAT. I've been holding out saying that for a long time. That dude is the GOAT. So it's hard to go against that statement. But I'm going to say this. I think Patrick Mahomes, I think Andy Reid, I think that team has the ability, team-wise, if they stay within the team frame, they can win this game. If they do a
Most
team
definitely,
thing, they can win this game.
most
And
most definitely. I mean, it's not like Tom
go ahead.
Brady hasn't been beaten in the Super Bowl before. So it's not like this mystique where Tom Brady's won every Super Bowl that he's been in.
No,
So
no,
I don't
no.
think that
Yeah, he don't have a Mike cachet like that to where you
right,
won. I mean, but hell, he's been to 10. This is 10th, right?
right,
So figuring out how to get to 10, this dude has been by himself to more championships situations than the Browns as an entire entity since
organization, right,
56 or whatever to the NFL. So that's what I mean. Like I can't discount that. I can't discount that.
right, right.
That's why I call him the GOAT. This dude just finds a way, no matter where he goes. This is your first year there. Tampa was 7-9 last year. It wasn't no Super Bowl or potential Super Bowl place.
And you do it with no off season, learning a new system, new coach, all of that, and still was able to do it.
Come
So,
on, bro.
yeah, man, that's
That's
a huge
incredible.
accomplishment, and really
And I
just
have to tip my cap to that.
and solidifies his legacy.
However,
Even win or lose this game, it solidifies his legacy.
yeah, it don't matter.
Um,
Winning
but
or
definitely,
losing,
man,
you're absolutely right.
KC could, even though I picked Tampa, it wouldn't shock me if KC blew them out.
Well, again, I know that
But
the regular season doesn't matter that same way, but I told you in that game in week 12, Tampa wasn't what Tampa is now. Let's say that. Let's get that out of the way. I think Tampa has grown since that game, so they'll see a different team. And I think they'll see some different wrinkles because that's just what Tom Brady brings to the table. However, I do expect to see Andy Reid do his shimmy and shake with some trickerations. And Andy Reid also understands he spent so much time in Philly getting to being the best man every year and never actually getting through to the Super Bowl. He understands now. He appreciates this now. I don't think he's gonna let this one slide away for himself.
Gotcha. I
You
think
know
if
what I mean?
Tampa and they kind of run the ball steadily with Fournette, and people forget about Ronald Jones because he's been hurt during the playoffs. I think they can kind of maybe control the game that way, and also they have the ability where they can put some pressure on Mahomes and maybe disrupt that offense a little bit too. So,
well, that's their best bet. Is they do have the ability to do that. Again, if JPP is healthy and that defensive line is doing what the defensive line needs to do, and Ndamukong Suh can, stop the run a little bit and, keep them off of running when they ever decide to run, Kansas City, that is, they'll have a chance. The problem is this team doesn't run like that. So now you got to cover these guys in space.
yeah, that's true.
That to
Yeah,
me
it's
is
still some
the
mental
edge.
nightmares on both sides.
They get that ball out so fast, not super fast. You do have opportunities to get to these guys, but they understand what they need to do. It's quick sideline, and they'll take a 2-yard pass. They're okay with that. They'll take a 3-yard pass, and they're fine. All right, well, it's 2nd and
Right.
7.
All right, so
Ellsworth say this. He says 3rd and 8 to them is like 3rd and 1.
yeah, pretty much, and that's scary. Now,
So
what's your final score prediction?
I think the score is going to be 32. I'm going 32-24.
Chiefs.
Chiefs. Yeah.
All right, there you have it. Ronald is going with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm looking forward to the game, man. Like I may go to a party, I may not. I may just, me and my old man were just talking about just getting together, maybe throwing something, on the grill if it's warm enough. It's supposed to be pretty cold that day, and kind of keeping it low key.
It's going to be cold.
So,
right. Hell, they talking about more snow within the next day or so.
Are they? Okay.
So,
you might have to scratch that, but maybe we're still going to cook, throw something together and maybe just keep it low key. So
I know, listen, I know your cooking ass gonna cook. I know your cooking ass gonna cook because you always cook the same.
Yeah, definitely. Practicing, man. I got some stuff I'm working on, man. So, and I know people eat with their eyes first. So that's kind of, the method and that's behind that. So.
Look, hell yeah. Right. We always eat with our eyes. I'm like, what's that?
Right.
And Sean, for y'all who don't know, Sean don't just do cookies, by the way. Now he don't sell anything other than his cookies, but Sean cooks and he is really good at it. At least I've never tasted any of it, but it looks good. Like you said, we eat with our eyes. It looks good. Stuff he puts together.
Yeah, most of the stuff, if I post it, normally it tastes good because trust me, I've had some kitchen disasters that haven't made it to Instagram. I experiment a lot, man. I experiment with different flavors, new spices, new herbs, and everything doesn't come out so kosher all the time.
What you say? Kitchen disasters. Ain't nothing wrong with a kitchen disaster though, because sometimes that's where you learn at is in that disaster.
It happens, man. Like anybody that cooks and bakes out there knows that you can do the exact same recipe the exact same way 2 times and it comes out completely different. Because the weather, the humidity, anything can affect
all of
your food.
All of it play. I've tried to tell my wife that. Like she's like, last time you barbecued, it didn't take this long. I'm like, yeah, well, last time I barbecued, the wind was blowing 15 miles per hour. So it was kicking up the fire.
Right.
It was making the heat blow through. Now it's kind of still. It's hot as shit outside. It's just super humidity. I can't keep opening this thing. I got to keep everything on the inside.
Right.
like, the control part of it, like you say, the control part is where it all goes to shit. Sometimes you don't have
Exactly.
control, depending on what you're doing. So yeah, I can appreciate that.
Yeah, cooking is definitely a science.
All right, we're gonna move a little bit past the Super Bowl. We're not gonna move outside of football. So this week, within this week, should I say, because we haven't been with you guys since our midweek show of last week. Since we have had our podcast last week, we saw what would be considered a blockbuster trade. Why is it a blockbuster? Well, most times when teams swap quarterbacks, that's considered a blockbuster. That's just how the NFL works. Whenever you trade quarterbacks, whoa, because most teams don't do that, especially teams that are a year or so removed, a year and a half removed from being in the Super Bowl.
In my lifetime, I can't remember teams swapping quarterbacks. I'm sure it may have happened. It may have happened at some point, but to my knowledge, I can't remember that.
Where teams just flat out swap quarterbacks, like that is legitimate. The legitimate definition of a blockbuster in the NFL. So we saw Jared Goff, who was an LA Ram. He was in the Super Bowl, took LA to the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Thank you, Sean. I'm serious. Thank you. Just 2 years ago, this dude took this team to the Super Bowl. Didn't play horrible. I think it was just a bad coaching job by their coach, personally. That's why they lost. They didn't get blown out or anything like that. They weren't going to win that game. We could see that they weren't going to win that game. They weren't a better complete team. But their coach decided that throwing was the most important thing, even though they had a guy who almost had 2,000 yards rushing. And he didn't use him. Ty Gurley beat that particular person. But then we saw Ty Gurley beat Jettison a year later, in the next season. And then now we see Jared Goff beat Jettison a year after that. So we saw him get traded, Jared Goff, because that's where we start this conversation at, to Detroit for Matthew Stafford. Now, my question is this, and I want to ask Sean this, because I'm the one who brought this to the show, because I saw this earlier during the week, and I thought this would be a great discussion for us. Again, Sean is a very good football mind, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this. I just kind of wanted to tap his brain for this, because I had my thoughts. Well, let's see what somebody else thinks. It ain't all about me. Let's see what this dude thinks. So when you saw this trade go down, Sean, and let me run down parts and pieces of this trade. The first round, they got the Rams gave Jared Goff 2 first-round picks to be mentioned and named later, and a 3rd-round pick to Detroit for one Matthew Stafford. So what was your initial thought of that particular trade? Like, what did you think in your own mind?
I thought it was goofy. And I thought the Rams gave up way too much for a guy that's never won a playoff game. You would have think, to give up, and like the first round picks they're already named. It just for next year. It's for not next year, 2022 and 2023.
So they didn't name them at first. That's the only reason I said
okay.
that. So you don't know what years they're coming out. Well, who cares? They're first round picks.
And then the only reason why they couldn't give up a number 1 pick this year because the Rams didn't have one. They never had first round picks.
Right.
And I guess that was the best offer. So they said so you mean to tell me that that's the bet that you were the highest offer and you gave up all of that? You couldn't like tone that down like a little bit? To me, Matthew Stafford is a great stats guy. He throws for 4,000 meaningless yards every year.
Oh, thank you. I was just getting ready to say, what do you usually say about his yards? Go ahead.
Yeah, he throws for 4,000 meaningless yards. A great stat stuffer, man. He's the Tracy McGrady. He's the Tracy McGrady of the NFL. Stats galore. I don't mean that means absolutely nothing. Don't do nothing once you get in the playoff. Even if you get to the playoff, that's who Matthew Stafford is. And people keep saying, if you only had a coach, if you only had this. Look, has Matthew Stafford had crappy coaches and a crappy organization? Yes, he has. I will not deny that. And that could have played a part, in his development or lack of, development as far as getting to that next level. But it gets to a point, he's been in the league since 2009. So this is going into his 12th year. And normally, so normally a guy is who he is. Now, and with the right situation, could he do like a Rich Gannon? Remember Rich Gannon finally, later on in his career, he got to a Super Bowl, a Brad Johnson later on in his career, he got a ring. But Sean McVay to me is one of the most overrated coaches in the NFL. He was supposed to be this great offensive genius. I think that went to his head, and he doesn't do the simple things sometimes. There's no reason why the Rams, with the weapons that they had, shouldn't be playing better. And that defense too. You got that great defense that you waste because of your dumb offensive,
they're blaming it. Look, they're blaming it on the quarterback apparently.
And Goff doesn't set the world on fire, but he's not awful. You know what I'm saying? He's not trash. Is he? He's
not
elite? He's not elite, but he's not.
No, he's not elite.
He's not trash.
He's not elite. I will put him in a B/C category.
Yeah,
he's had some A games. Like he's had some A games, but even some bums have had A games.
Yeah, one thing that kind of hurts watching. I've seen Goff play in person. And he's just most effective when he gets to play off the play action. Like when they came in town to play the Browns, when they were doing play action, he was killing us because that gave him time to set, throw, and find his receivers. Now because they don't run the ball that much.
There you go. There you go. And that's what I was getting ready to say. Like, bro, what did I just say? Why they lost that Super Bowl? They lost because they ain't run the damn ball.
Right.
And when they ran it, they wasn't running with their most effective guy. It was like Todd Gurley. Hey, you remember that year? Who was that who lost their helmet? Thurman Thomas. Thurman Thomas couldn't get on the field because he lost his helmet and won Super Bowl to start the game. Okay, but he lost his helmet. Now, however goofy that might be, there was a reason that Thurman Thomas wasn't on the field. One of the best players to the Buffalo Bills offense. He couldn't find his helmet. Okay. Again, as goofy as that is, at least we had a reason. There was absolutely no reason that Todd Gurley was standing off to the sideline not playing.
Right.
Only one reason. There was one reason. And he still has headsets on his head. And he's still called a head coach. Now, I'm glad you said what you said because that's how I felt. I felt like I don't know that that's it. So there were two things that ran through my mind, and tell me if you agree with some of this or none of it or all of it. I said, okay, apparently the Rams have gone into Super Bowl or bust.
Or bust mode, yep.
Mode. So they want to switch it up. They don't think Goff is the guy. So they want to bring in Matthew Stafford, who, again, is a numbers-wise, if you look at his numbers and if you really just have ever watched Matthew Stafford, the dude can throw the ball. He can sling that thing. Or as they say in the NFL, you listen to old school NFL guys, he can spin that thing. He can spin that thing. Like he can throw it. That dude is the old school gunslinger type cat. He's the Brett Favre type cat. He's the John Elway type cat who can just deal, just throw that thing out there. Where I would never compare him to a Brett Favre or a John Elway is in here. Now,
Right.
he's a tough kid. He's a tough kid. Like, he gonna get hurt and try to keep playing and all that stuff. But Super Bowls and conference championships and playoff games are won a lot of times in here because you're playing equal talent in football games. You got one game to win. So every mistake is the biggest mistake you ever made. I don't know that Matthew Stafford is the dude I want in that situation. But you've already gone through that with Jared Goff. I don't understand. Not to mention, you gave, you know how they say, ain't no sense. You buy the cow, you get the calf. Man, you gave them the cow, the calf, the bull, the barn,
Right.
the hay. You gave them everything for a Super Bowl or bust type of situation.
Right. And
I
for a
don't
guy,
know.
like I said, for a guy that's never won a playoff game. Now, I do believe that Stafford is going to look great in this offense.
Heck
Because
yeah.
the one thing that Stafford does have the advantage over Goff, he's a little bit more decisive with the football. He likes to let it rip. And I think that's what McVay is looking at. Most coaches think they can fix a guy. So McVay looks at the talent, the arm strength, and all of that. He's like, you know what? I can work with that. And he's going to look good. Like, Matt Stafford's going to put up numbers in LA.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
the thing is, when it gets down
4,000 yards is coming.
When it gets down to winning time, and they may even go to the playoffs. When it gets down to winning time, though, and taking that next step, does Matt Stafford have it, like you said, up here to make the necessary plays to, get them over the hump? That's where my concern is with him mostly. Not that he's not gonna, look bad or not play well. He's gonna play well. It's gonna look excellent in that offense. But but you said it's Super Bowl or bust. So
yeah, that's it. That's it. It's Super Bowl or bust. So here's my question. Sean McVay was the green lighter for what's his name, Jared Goff, to get that 4-year, $134 million contract 2 years ago. Now he's telling the same team, this ain't my guy. If these dudes don't make the playoffs, don't make the Super Bowl, is Sean McVay out?
No, not yet. I think it depends on how far they go. I think if they go to the playoffs and lose in the playoffs, I don't think they get rid of McVay that fast. Because one thing, too.
They're already in Super Bowl or bust mode.
I'm going to tell you another reason why they made that move is because, they went a whole season without any fans at all. They're probably, I'm going to assume that they'll at least have some fans back in some form or fashion. They want to put some butts in those seats. Matt Stafford is going to make that team look a little bit more exciting too. But to me, like the Lions come out looking good because here's for one, okay, you traded your franchise quarterback that really hasn't done too much for you. And you get a guy like Goff. Like I said, Goff is not going to set the world on fire, but he's a good guy to have. He's a veteran. So now if you go out and draft a quarterback, you don't have to rush that guy in immediately. Goff is going to have a chip on his shoulder. He may end up improving with the right coaching, the right system. He may end up improving. He may end up being your quarterback. But if not, you still got 2 first-round picks on the back end where you can go draft a guy at some point. So I think
trade for a guy because you got those first-round picks. So those are still tradable assets.
So what you see happening in Detroit, which they finally are doing, which they should have done years ago, is especially when Megatron retired, is tear the thing down.
Said that was
and rebuild and rebuild the right.
I said that was a move. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
I thought you were done. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm done. Go ahead.
I said that was a move that was like 3 years past overdue rather. I thought Matthew Stafford would have been gone from Detroit. Um, Again, not because he's so awful, because he's not awful. I just thought that Detroit would be like, all right, we got to move on because they didn't do anything. They didn't do that dude no favors with adding people. They ain't had a running back worth talking about since Barry Sanders, but before Barry Sanders, or back when Barry Sanders was here, they ain't had a quarterback worth
Yeah, the quarterback, right.
talking. So it was always a little bit off balance with this team. And they've been, I mean, how are you blessed? This is how I always am scratching my head when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. How is Detroit, who's an awful organization like the Browns have been, how has Detroit had one of the best wide receivers in the history of the world and one of the best football players to ever play football ever in my lifetime? And
Right.
I can't say either about the Browns. I can't say either about the Browns.
You know what? But
that
makes Detroit's situation worse because they had it and still didn't do nothing with it.
It does. I'm not listen, bro. You ain't lying. I'm not. You know I ain't lying. You listen. I know you know what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm like, man, how couldn't we have looked up and got Calvin? And I know people that are great, Jerry Rice's and Calvin Johnson's. These dudes are not made on a regular basis. These guys are incredible. There's a reason that you only get one or two of these. My thing is, you have one of the best wide receivers that's ever played ever. Also, one of the best football players that have ever played ever, and Barry Sanders. In my whole lifetime, I'm only 46. We're only 46.
Yeah.
We still can't say that here in Cleveland, but that tells you the dysfunction, as Sean said, that occurs in Detroit. So now I'm gonna tell you what. Who won that draft? Oh, excuse me, that trade? Detroit, hands down, because you have the ability. And they also have a good football guy that's running their organization right now. And John Dorsey. John Dorsey was the button pusher on he was like, absolutely, buddy boy.
Yep.
We'll take them and we'll run with this and we'll take those draft picks and they're gonna listen, and that ain't the last move they're gonna make either. They're gonna keep making moves and making trades and picking up free agents. Detroit ain't gonna be bad for a long time. Not for a long time. They're not gonna be bad. They may not win those Super Bowls and all that stuff. They're gonna be respectable at least. Because he was building that kind of team here. The only thing that got John Dorsey out of Cleveland was that he wanted to bring Freddie. If he would have shut the hell up and decided, yeah, we need to move forward and keep it moving, but he just didn't want to be surrounded by all those analytics. John Dorsey is a gut, Butch Johnson gut guy. Butch Davis gut guy. My gut.
Yeah, they have an interesting dynamic there now because Dan Campbell is a kind of fiery guy too. And their new coach. Yep. I forgot that he played with them back in the day. When I said, "Oh, that's that Dan Campbell." Because when he was a coach at Iowa State, I never equated him to being that guy that used to play for the Lions. When they were showing some highlights, I'm like, okay, I remember that dude. You know, I remember when he played with Detroit.
I remember him too. And I think that adding a real football guy, a guy who has an eye for talent and an eye for ability. Again, John Dorsey drafted Nick Chubb. I wanted Bradley Chubb. He drafted Nick Chubb. Guess what? My bad, bro. You were more correct than I was. You were absolutely right, John Dorsey. So he does understand how to draft. He does understand how to put a team together. I think Detroit will be fine. But now we got this weird ass conundrum because we're probably going to extend Baker, probably going to extend him. But what I heard earlier this week is that this trade might have screwed Baker because maybe all he's going to get is that extension.
it's
that
screwed up.
option picked up.
You mean the 5th year option? Yeah, it's screwed up a lot of quarterbacks. It's not just that trade. The Carson Wentz deal, the Deshaun Watson debacle that's going on now. People forget that Deshaun Watson just signed an extension before the start of last season. Which
And they
probably
named all that stuff. They
it
mentioned
was
all that
probably
stuff.
will make it hard to trade him because that's a lot of money that comes with him. Now you've got him locked in. You could look at it. Well, I got my quarterback, for 3 or 4 years. But that's a lot of money. That's a big number.
Yeah.
So I think now teams are going to be a little bit more cautious before you throw out, that type of money. Jared Goff got paid way too soon. What happened to the days of you had to at least win something? Not necessarily a championship, but
No,
at
you just
least
had to
prove
prove
that you're going to win a playoff game. Do something where you show that
you just have
you're
to
that
prove
guy.
yourself.
Yeah,
Like I
now
hear
they're
people
doing
saying,
it based on potential. Like we think you're going to be the guy. It's hard to find quarterbacks now. So let's go ahead and throw all this. Like Kirk Cousins was another. Kirk Cousins was Mr. 8-8, and he got all that money. Now,
he's
how
the
does that
most
look now, Minnesota? You stuck in
he
mediocrity with a
basic.
mediocre quarterback.
He basic. And I agree with you. And I think that we've hit a spot where teams are, and to me, this is where that crossroads between change and stability can be an issue. So what do I mean by that? I mean, everybody wants stability. Everybody thinks, well, we keep hiring these coaches and firing these coaches, and we keep getting quarterbacks and then changing quarterbacks. Well, to me, where everybody wants stability, I want the right quarterback to be stable with, or I want the right coach to be stable with. It'd be different if we were hiring the right people.
Right.
If we were hiring the right people, I'm with you. Let's stay stable. But when you're hiring and drafting or a free agent picking up the wrong people, it works against you. So you have to make the change. And this is where, to me, guys like Carson Wentz, or even guys like Jared Goff, where you pay these guys early because you're like, oh, he got us to the Super Bowl. So you pay him a 4-year, $134 million contract. Paying this kid $30-something million a year. What is it? $31 million. What is it?
Something like that.
Almost $37 million a year. You at that crossroads of he's basic, but we needed to make sure he stayed here because he understands the system, he understands what we want, et cetera, et cetera. You got to know that this is your guy. Now, I know people are wondering why I brought Baker Mayfield into this. Sean tapped on it. Sean understood exactly where I was going. The reason we bring Baker into this is because he does have an option year coming up soon. This is fourth. This 4th year is next year. He's got that 5th year option, but people are like, we should just sign him immediately. We've just seen one guy has gotten his 4-year option or 5th year option, and they extended him instead of doing that. But he's on a whole nother team now. And the team had to give up 2 first-rounders, a 3rd-rounder, and a player to get that whole contract off of their roster. They wanted to get rid of that entire roster. That's the only reason all of that went down.
Mm-hmm.
But most teams ain't in a position to eat that. Most teams aren't. So do you want to be in that position with Baker? You want to give Baker $130 million right now? Or do you want to see what he's going to do this year and then just work his whole contract? To me, it behooves you to be a little more patient.
I agree. As much as I like Baker Mayfield, I agree 100%.
I think we need
also since we're talking trade, all you Cleveland fans out there that's throwing all these dumb trade scenarios, how we just go out and just get Deshaun Watson, please stop. Like, y'all getting on my nerves. Y'all don't have no type of logical reasoning. Y'all just throw stuff out there. Like, we can just trade Baker. I was like, why would Houston, if you don't think Baker Mayfield can play, why would Houston trade for him and give us Deshaun
And
Watson?
listen,
Like that doesn't make any type of sense,
and if
whatsoever.
and if you the dumb fan don't think that Baker can play, why would Houston think that he can play?
Yeah, so I guess I just
If
said,
he's not the guy, like, come on, bro. Like, that's just dumb. That's just dumb.
they're just gonna go just
And
hand
listen, Baker,
Deshaun Watson over, just because we want him. Like that doesn't make
I
any
think
sense at
Baker is the
all.
guy.
And on top of that, stop. The Browns fans have always wished for what everybody else has instead of sometimes appreciating. Now, sometimes we didn't have a lot. Sometimes we did have shit. We had crap. So yeah, of course you're gonna covet other players. But right now, man, we at a point now where we hadn't won a playoff game in 26 years. We got a good roster here. Embrace it. Embrace these guys. They need that support. Baker doesn't need to hear, talking about you won a playoff game the first time, whatever, and now talking about half the city don't want you. We don't need that type of energy right now. You don't have to be married to him. You don't have to be enamored with him. But that's your quarterback right now. Just show some support.
You gotta give him a shot.
Right. Now, if he goes out and he stinks up the joint and he doesn't show improvement, going, okay, fine. But we're in a good place right now, organizationally, and stop with the negativity. Pretty soon, these dummies, if Tennessee decides that they will move on from Derrick Henry, you have these idiots here talking about we can trade Chubb for Derrick Henry.
Dummies.
Right.
All dummies. Also, let's stop. And I get it. OBJ is a movable piece. He really is. Our offense worked without him, and it makes sense to potentially think with his contract to move him forward.
But he's not really
somewhere
tradable
else I'm sorry?
He's not really that as tradable as people think he is.
But listen, bro, you preaching to the choir. I'm just saying this stuff for the people that
I got you.
The people that just think we can just move this guy who's making $13.5–14 million a year, and people would just want him, and we could just trade OBJ and get JJ Watt, or we could just trade OBJ and get Watson. Or listen, man, stop. Or we could trade OBJ and get the safety from Minnesota. Hey, man, stop. Stop it. We are now. Sean got on me earlier because he like, bro, you already going into how many games we gonna win type stuff, and we're only 6 months away from the season starting.
Yeah, you playing a schedule game.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's early, but they put it out, so I'll put it out. Just as a, hey, look at our schedule. I see about 10, 11 wins, but I need to also see what we're gonna do. This is right now. This is just today. And at least I prefaced it. I'm not one of these people who gonna go overboard or lose my mind over simple stuff.
Right.
Not in general, I know. So you guys are talking about trading OBJ. It says to me that y'all don't understand football. Because again, I'm gonna say what I said earlier today, and I'm gonna say what I said a week or so ago. OBJ is an equivalent talent to Tyreek Hill. The problem is we don't use him that way. Now, could we trade him? Yeah, we could trade him. He's not that much of an asset right now to any other team. Teams aren't just going to give you what you want because of that.
Really coming off two injuries within the last 3 years.
Come on, man. Come on. These GMs weren't born yesterday. It all makes sense in terms of what's
and then plus he's deemed as a distraction and all that type of stuff.
And listen, let me tell y'all what Jack Conklin said. And y'all can go look it up. Look up what Jack Conklin said about Odell Beckham. He said that coming from Tennessee, which wasn't a bad locker room, that this was the best locker room he's ever been in, ever. And a lot of that was because of OBJ. But y'all want to continue to tell me that OBJ is a distraction. Y'all want to continue to say that OBJ is a cancer or a bad player. Y'all just talking about what y'all talking about because that's what y'all saw. Y'all are deferential anyway.
Right.
So if you don't listen to a guy that actually plays with him, Kevin Stefanski said one of the reasons that stuff was so smooth was because of Juice and because of OBJ when he came in.
And one thing, after every season, normally after every dysfunctional season that we've had, the stories start coming out about how dysfunctional the locker room was and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But even after the Freddie debacle last year, you heard about players not necessarily buying into Freddie, but you didn't hear about dysfunction among the players.
It wasn't about the players.
And this year, you ain't heard nothing
coming out. You ain't heard a word
about Berea, about
you ain't heard
guys
a word.
not getting along or anything.
And I tell you something else I've seen OBJ working harder to get back on the field.
Yes.
He's said the worst thing that could have ever happened to me was me watch them move on without me. I hated it. I hated seeing them get to the playoffs and be successful. I loved it, but I hated it because I wasn't a part of it and I couldn't help them. That's a teammate, dog. That's not somebody who's selfish.
Right.
Because that's what I would have felt. And I'm a regular dude. Listen, I ain't got nowhere near the talent that OBJ has. But I would have been pissed off if I couldn't have been in the playoffs. I would have been pissed. When he got hurt, you know what Donovan Peoples-Jones said it. Actually, 6 people said it in interviews. He said he walked off the field with a torn ACL, by the way. Walked off the field. And as he was walking off, they said, Donovan Peoples-Jones said it, man, I walked up to him and was trying to give him some dap, and he hugged me and said, you up, go be great. Who says that when you are cancer?
Right.
Nobody does. So it's nothing wrong with OBJ. Y'all need to stop. Y'all need to chill out. And this dude, if we use him correctly, if we can get Kevin Stefanski, Andy Reid used to be this way back in the day. He was so stuck on certain things. And he had to do certain things a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
Andy Reid only became the greatest coach possible when he got outside of his own box. Or one of the better coaches that we've seen, because Belichick is the greatest coach possible. But Andy Reid became on the echelon that we can discuss him with Belichick once he started thinking outside of his own box, doing kind of unconventional things, not weird things, but stuff that, hey man, I lost doing this. I ain't finna lose doing this again, type of thing. You have to be analytical, and I think you also have to be instinctive. You can't just be analytical. I don't think one or the other wins you football games anymore.
Right.
Not anymore. Not in this NFL. I think you just have to open up the box and be a bunch of things, a bunch of different things. So that's just a shout out to Kev. Listen, I go hard on Kev because I ain't had no coach here that I thought needed to be here, but I do think Kev needs to be here. I do think Baker needs to be here. I do think OBJ needs to be here, and we need to figure it out. I also think that we need to run the ball more. What's wrong with that? Nothing.
Yeah, you say that emphatically, quite often, and I agree with you. I definitely agree. Sometimes I think too, this is gonna sound like I'm making an excuse for the coach, but I'm not. Sometimes you have too many toys to play with, and you don't know what to do.
No,
I agree. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like sometimes, like when I'm playing Madden, like people always wonder why, like even back in the day, like at my height, when I was really good at Madden, it was around Madden 93, 94, right? And people used to always trip on me. Like, man, it's like, why are you getting the Chargers with Stan Humphries? Because I knew they had a great defense, so I didn't have to worry about that side. And I'd give the ball to Marion Butts and throw to Anthony Miller. I kept my options low. but I could do enough with them to win. Now when I start playing with teams like the Oilers, I got about 85 weapons, and this at the third, it would be like overwhelming. Like to me, I got too much stuff to play with. I don't know who to go to. But you could give me something simple that limits what I can do.
Where you
And
can
people, they
move
would
and
tell
how
me,
you
it's
can
like, man, like,
move.
how you winning with the Chargers? Like, I had Leslie O'Neal and Stanley Richard and
Yeah.
Sayal and them dudes back there. I didn't have to worry about that side of the ball. Now I can slowly burn the clock down with Marion, but who's the other running back they had? They had a nutmeg. Yep.
Yep.
I just slow burn y'all with this run, and it hit
Yep.
Anthony Miller and Papupanu every now and then over the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
It was
picture they
by the
were
way, it was not Pooper New, but I know who you're talking about.
it was
It was it was not
Papupanu.
It was Pooper. Yeah, nah, it might have been Pooper New. It was not Pooper New. I think it was Panu, but it was not Panu.
I was killing dudes with them. And I think sometimes Stefanski looks at that, he was like, man, I gotta get all these guys the ball, but ain't no balls to go around.
You just have to do the simplest stuff, bro. Like to me, the switching out of the Hunt and Chubb is necessary on certain situations, but you can't hamper yourself because having Chubb on the field, it changes everything that the defense does.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, no, this dude is on the field. You don't want to keep switching them out so much that you tip your hand. Like, don't outthink yourself. Because now, especially late in the season, we saw almost an even shift of when they were on the field. Now, I know people will say, well, no, they ran evenly in certain games. That's not what I'm saying. Them being on the field, their snaps became even. You can't do that. You can't do that. Because now, these snaps that this dude is on the field, I'm like, oh, they only brought him out here to run. So now we stacking against the run in terms of the defensive thought process, the defensive coordinators. Oh, they got Chubb on the field. Let's get the heavy guys in there. It's not like we got so many passes off of that.
Right.
It's not like you did a play action. If you got to do your play action, and now we're moving into an NFL where you're seeing more 4-2-5 type of defensive schemes. So you always got an extra defensive back on the field. That don't even help you. That doesn't even help you to do all of them switching. And a lot of that is just analytical based on what down it is. And I don't want to get off on a super tangent because it's just going to make me sound like I'm coming down on Stefanski, and I'm not. I'm really not. I'm just trying to say we have so many. I agree with Sean. We got so many weapons. I don't know the last time, probably in the 80s, going into the 90s, where I could say with assurance, we have so many offensive weapons. I don't even know where to throw the ball. I don't even know where to hand the ball.
You know what, too? I went back. It's just real quick. I went back and started looking at stats. And that's why I thank God for Pro Football Reference. Those of you who don't know, been under a rock and don't know about that website, that has every stat for every person that's ever played the game of football, probably going back in the modern era. So, I started going back and looking at team stats, teams that had prolific offenses, like the Vikings from '98 when they had Moss, Chris Carter, Jake Brady.
Randy Moss.
Robert Smith.
And Randall Cunningham.
The Oilers when they had the run and shoot, when they had like Haywood, Jeffries, Ernest Givens, Curtis Duncan, and those guys.
Yeah.
And I started looking at their stats. And the amazing thing was that you would think that all those guys would just had outrageous numbers because of the offensive stats that were being put up, and they didn't. They had like their main guys that that did the heavy lifting, and everybody else just kind of played like their supportive role, but they were effective because even though Curtis Duncan may only had 45 catches that year, they all meant something. But his yards per catch average was something like 20. So even though he only had 45 catches, he was making big plays. I should think Jake Reed had like 80 catches a year. He didn't. Moss had 100 catches. Chris Carter had maybe like 85. But Jake Reed only had like 35. But when I remember watching those games, though, Jake Reed always
felt
seemed
like he
to
had
make
a
a
bigger
big
impact.
play. Yeah. So that got me
Yeah.
to thinking, okay, so if the Browns players, if they all check their egos at the door and let
If they do,
everything happen, and if Stefanski calls the game, lets everything happen organically and not try to force it here and there, just let it flow.
right.
We should have an offense next year. Now that we're coming into a second year, we should be moving just like this. It should be clockwork. Well, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but it should be clockwork. Everything should be
I agree.
on an even rhythm.
I agree, but that's where my excitement comes from, bro. And that's also where my frustration comes from when I hear people talking about bringing in somebody else to be the quarterback. Listen, this dude is the first time in his career. He's in the second year of an offense that he can grow in. And he actually has proven that he can be better in it. So allow the dude to be better and know what it is from day one and let him continue to grow. Let his maturation continue. Because what did I say? Why did I tell you I was so mad at Kevin Stefanski? Because I believe that we wasted an opportunity for us to get to the Super Bowl. I thought this team could get to the Super Bowl, and we're nowhere near perfect. We ain't even close. No. We're so rookie raw right now. We ain't even close to a Super Bowl team, but we could have got to the Super Bowl this year. So what is Ron saying? What is RP saying? RP is saying Baker is good enough to get us to the Super Bowl. He is. Because I thought he could have did it this year. And all we would care about is us, the Cleveland Browns, being in the Super Bowl. And I think we could have pulled that off this year. I truly do. I'm mad as hell at the coach. I'm yelling at the coach. I'm going off on the coach. This dude still almost made us get to the Super Bowl with one or two different things. One or two different plays, or one or two different plays go a different kind of way. I still think that we could have got to the Super Bowl. Doesn't mean that he was perfect or prolific in his play calling. It doesn't. Just like it doesn't mean Baker is perfect, but we still could have been. Listen, we ain't been to the Super Bowl ever in the history of our lives. I would have taken this bum-ass Super Bowl over any, because I never have seen I've seen every one of my favorite teams. Whichever team was my favorite team at whatever point I was in my life, I've seen every single one of them be in a championship situation. Every single one of them. I watched Tiger Woods on a Sunday believing that he was going to win. I've seen him come back on Sunday and win. I've watched Mike Tyson win titles. I've watched Venus and Serena win titles. I've watched the Spurs. The Spurs is one of my favorite teams. Win a title. Ohio State has won titles and been there to win titles. The Cavs, the Indians have been there. They ain't won, but they've been there. The Browns is the only one of my teams, and they're my favorite team of favorite teams. And we had that opportunity this year. So was I a little bit erratic a couple weeks ago? Possibly. I wasn't wrong. I was just erratic. My delivery was all over the damn place, but I was spot on with what I was talking about. You can't waste these opportunities. You can't. Yeah, Tom Brady and Mahomes, two guys who have been there a few times, are there right now. But guess what? They not going to, Brady ain't going to be there for much longer.
Right.
And it's almost somebody else's time. Josh Allen learned some shit this year. Josh Allen is going to be a different monster next year. He is. Good, bad, or indifferent. He's going to be different next year. We had the opportunity to overtake that cat and just luck our ways into a Super Bowl. And I saw that. I'm sorry that y'all didn't see it. Yeah, just call me Nostradamus. That's what I do.
Oh Lord.
I'm very prolific in my foresight. Shout out to Nostradamus. That's how this goes. So that hey man, what's wrong with you? You need some oxygen. What's all that extra breathing you doing over
there? Right. you be going too far. You be going where you be taking stuff to the next level for no reason. Nostradamus. Come on, man.
That's right. Nostradamus. I tried to told y'all we could have done that, but it's okay because I truly believe in the direction of this team, being the Cleveland Browns, and I truly believe in my quarterback. I didn't come into this season that way. No, I did not, but I got faith in him. I damn sure got faith in my running backs. Backs. I said that with an S. I believe in this running backs. I believe in this offensive line. I actually believe in our wide receivers too. I think the offense is pretty solid. Yeah, I think we need a little bit more depth on certain angles, but I think the offense.
Yeah, but it's just the defense that has to be shored up. The offense, I think, is fine. It's the defense.
If the defense was even half of good as it should have been, as what we recorded, and where I think we were like 18th or 19th defensively. If we were even close to that, if we had players that were even close to that, we would have been like 12, which could have gotten us into the Super Bowl. Correct?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. 100%. But look, man, we're about right at that.
Yeah, we right at the cusp.
2-hour mark.
Right at the cusp.
Right at the cusp. So, did you have anything else you wanted to add, or?
Nope. If I add anything else, will be another hour.
Right.
So nope.
So we're looking forward to a great Super Bowl. I hope you guys enjoy the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl weekend. Have some good food. On the Super Bowl parties, be safe driving home. You know, all that good stuff. Mask up if you need to. Everybody just be responsible out there.
Yeah, be safe.
Have a good time. I'm looking forward to this game. This is one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most in a while. I think this is a very intriguing matchup, player-wise and coaching-wise. Definitely should be fun. So you guys can check us out on Two Guys on the Mic 216 on Facebook and Instagram, and on all streaming platforms is Two Guys on the Mic. That being Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Anchor, all that good stuff. So on that note, I love you, bro. You be safe. Have a good rest of your week. And we'll see you guys probably have a post-Super Bowl show.
Yeah, we'll do we'll do a post-Super Bowl show. Sean, only thing Sean missed was our YouTube page. Two Guys on the Mic 216. Come check us out. Subscribe. You can see the entire show.
Facebook and IG, but I forgot about YouTube. My bad.
No, that's okay. That's okay. That's all right. You hit everything that you needed to say that. So come check us out there. Come subscribe. Come comment. We try to chat with you guys as much as possible. Again, have fun. Have a good Super Bowl weekend. If you guys want to go hang out at a Super Bowl party or something like that, please take your mask. Please, as Sean said, be responsible. Be responsible with your driving as well. And we will see you guys on Sunday night. I love you as well, Sean. Again, thank you for being a part of this. Thank you guys for listening and for hanging out with us. Two Guys on the Mic. Peace out. Love you all.
All right.